You don't need to be rich, you don't need a six-pack, and you certainly don't need to chase women like your life depends on it. What you need is presence. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room and felt invisible? Have you ever watched the woman you wanted gravitate toward a man who didn't even try? It's not that she wanted money, it's not that he was better looking, it's something else entirely. There is something magnetic about a man who knows who he is, who doesn't apologize for taking up space, a man who doesn't wait for permission to be great. He just is. That man speaks without raising his voice. He walks without rushing. He listens more than he explains. And without ever trying to impress, he leaves an impression. You think women want things, but what they truly crave is a feeling, security, mystery, warmth, power. And when you become the man who radiates that kind of energy, without flexing, without faking, that's when she starts to lean in. She'll crave your presence even in your silence. So no, you don't need money to make her want you. You need depth, stillness, and the courage to stop performing, because the moment you stop chasing is the moment she starts noticing. Let's break this down together. 6 things you can do right now that will make her want you instantly without spending a dime. Let me tell you something that will change everything. The moment you stop performing is the moment you become powerful. So many men today are caught in a trap, acting like a version of themselves they think women want. Flashy, funny, overly agreeable, always available, but deep down, they're exhausted because pretending is draining. It's a full-time job trying to keep up an image you know isn't truly you, and women can feel it. They may not be able to put it into words, but they can sense the disconnect, the over-effort, the mask. When you're constantly seeking her approval, you lose your power. You become predictable, replaceable, because the more you perform, the more you fade into the background of every other man doing the exact same thing. So stop, breathe, and remember this: you don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You just need to stand in it. Being is different from performing. Being means owning your flaws, your silence, your values. It's walking into a room without shrinking or posturing. It's knowing that your presence alone carries value, not because you're loud or impressive, but because you're real. And in a world full of performers, real is rare. You're not here to compete for attention. You're not a show. You're a man. And when you drop the act, when you stop trying so hard to make her feel something, she starts to feel everything: attraction, curiosity, desire, without you saying a word. The truth is, the strongest men aren't the loudest. They're the most aligned. They don't adapt to impress. They stay grounded in who they are. And that creates the pull. So take off the mask. Drop the script. Let go of the pressure to entertain. Oh! Because the moment you stop performing is the moment she starts watching. And not just watching, wanting. There's a kind of silence that doesn't feel empty. It feels powerful. And most men are terrified of it. They rush to fill the air with words, jokes, explanations, even apologies. But the truth is, when you can sit in silence, not awkwardly, not nervously, but confidently, you become unforgettable. You see, emotional silence is a language of strength. It says, I'm comfortable with myself. I don't need to prove anything. And women feel that deeply, because silence invites curiosity. It draws her in. It creates space for her to wonder about you. And when a woman starts wondering, she starts wanting. Most men think talking more means connecting more, but that's not how it works. In reality, the men who speak less, but speak with weight, are the ones who leave a lasting impact. Their silence doesn't create distance, it creates presence. Emotional silence also means you're not rattled. When she throws a test your way, maybe a sarcastic comment, maybe she withdraws just to see how you'll react. You don't chase, complain, or panic. You stay still, you stay calm. And that calmness tells her everything she needs to know. It tells her you are emotionally rooted, that you're not here to beg for affection, that you know how to hold your frame. Oh. Women are drawn to mystery, but mystery doesn't mean being cold. It means having depth. It means giving her space to explore who you are, without throwing everything on the table at once. And that's exactly what emotional silence gives you. The upper hand, without the ego. So start practicing presence. Let your stillness speak. Watch how she leans in when you don't rush to explain yourself. Watch how her energy shifts when you give her your silence, not your anxiety. Because in the end, it's not the loudest man she remembers, it's the one who made her feel something in the quiet. You want her attention? Then stop talking and look at her, not just with your eyes, with your soul. Because eye contact, real eye contact, isn't just about looking, it's about seeing. It's about communicating presence, strength, and sincerity without uttering a single word. Most men glance. They look away too quickly, or they stare like they're trying too hard to prove something. But the man who can hold eye contact, calmly, softly, with certainty, doesn't need lines. He is the line. Women aren't pulled in by what you say. They're pulled in by how you make them feel. And the eyes are where feeling begins. When you can hold her gaze without flinching, without faking, you're telling her something far deeper than any compliment ever could. I see you. I'm not intimidated by you. I'm not in a rush to win you. I'm simply here, and I'm not moving. That energy is magnetic because it's rare. In a world of constant distractions, a man who can lock eyes fully, intentionally, becomes unforgettable. It creates tension. It creates anticipation. And if you do it with sincerity, not ego, she will feel safe with you and intrigued by you at the same time. And it's not just about when you're flirting, it's about how you communicate. When you listen to her, really listen, with your eyes locked into hers, she'll feel respected, seen, valued. And that connection runs deeper than anything physical. But here's the secret. You can't fake this kind of eye contact. It has to come from inner stillness, from self-trust, from a place where you're not seeking approval, you're simply offering presence. So the next time you sit across from her, stop rehearsing your next line. Stop wondering if she likes you. Just hold her gaze, breathe, and be still. Let her feel the weight of your presence in your eyes. Because the right look, one that is calm, real, and unshakable, can say you're not just seen, you're wanted. And that is when she starts to want you back. There's a quiet strength in a man who refuses to flinch, not because he's cold, not because he doesn't feel, but because he knows his worth isn't up for negotiation. Every man is tested, especially by the women he wants most. It might come in the form of a delayed text, a sharp comment, or a sudden withdrawal of attention. And in that moment, most men crumble. They start typing long messages, overthinking every word, begging for validation without even realizing it. But not you, not anymore. Because a woman doesn't want a man who panics when the ground shakes. She wants a man who becomes stiller in the storm. That kind of emotional control, that's power, that's leadership. That's what separates the ones who are chased from the ones who chase. Understand this. The way you respond in moments of tension tells her everything about you. If you flinch when she pulls away, you're telling her your emotional state is in her hands. And no woman truly wants that responsibility. But when you remain grounded, when you pause, breathe, and refuse to react impulsively, you become a mirror, and she sees herself more clearly through you. Your stillness gives her clarity. Your strength gives her permission to soften. So don't react. Respond from a place of self-respect, not ego. Don't chase when you feel distant. Don't beg when you feel insecure. Sit in the discomfort. Let it build your resilience instead of breaking your frame. Because flinching isn't just physical, it's emotional. It's giving away your center to please someone else. And every time you do that, you lose a part of yourself. You train her to lead and yourself to follow. But you weren't made to follow. You were made to lead with presence. And real presence means holding steady when things feel uncertain. So the next time she tests your balance, don't flinch. Breathe. Stand tall in the silence. Because when you hold your frame while the world tries to pull you out of it, that's when she starts to lean in. Words aren't just sounds, they're signals. And when a man learns how to speak with purpose, he becomes a man who commands attention without demanding it. Let's get real. Most men talk too much when they're nervous. They over-explain, overshare, and overcompensate. They ramble, thinking more words will build more attraction. But in reality, more words often reveal less confidence. A woman listens beyond your words. She hears your intention. She hears your energy. And when your voice is filled with nervousness, desperation, or the need to be liked, she picks up on that, fast. But when you speak slowly, clearly, with intentional pauses, something changes. Your voice carries weight, and in that weight, she senses calm, leadership, strength. You're no longer trying to fill space. You own it. You see, confidence doesn't shout. It doesn't over-explain. Confidence whispers, and people lean in. A man who speaks with purpose knows that silence is not the enemy, it's his ally. He lets his words breathe. He doesn't rush to respond. He isn't afraid of quiet moments because his presence already said enough. Speaking with purpose also means speaking truth. You don't flatter to gain favor. You don't exaggerate to impress. You say what you mean, and you mean what you say. Whether it's setting a boundary, expressing admiration, or simply answering a question, your words are anchored in self-respect. And here's the twist. When you say less, what you say carries more power. You become a mystery, not a monologue. She wants to hear more from you, not because you're performing, but because every word from your mouth feels intentional. So stop talking just to fill the air. Stop trying to prove yourself with long speeches. Start speaking like a man who knows that every word either builds connection or breaks it. Speak to be understood, not to be accepted. Because when you speak like a man who doesn't need to be heard, that's when your voice becomes unforgettable. And that's when she listens, not with her ears, but with her whole heart. Let me say this plainly. The most attractive man is the one who isn't always available, not because he's being arrogant or playing games, but because he's genuinely busy building a life that matters to him. A man who's constantly texting, constantly waiting for her response, constantly available to entertain her every moment becomes forgettable. Not because he's unkind, but because he sends a message, "You are the center of my world." That might sound romantic in theory, but in reality, it feels needy, it feels ungrounded, and no woman wants to feel like she's carrying your emotional world on her shoulders. What pulls a woman in is knowing that you have your own world, one that's full, passionate, and not revolving around her. When you're unavailable, when you don't answer every message immediately, when you say no to a spontaneous hangout because you've got goals to chase or a gym session to hit, she doesn't lose interest, she gains respect. She starts to wonder, what's he up to? What drives him? Why am I thinking about him more when he's not even here? That's not manipulation. That's energy. That's the magnetic pull of a man on a mission. Women crave mystery, not the kind that's secretive and shady, but the kind that comes from purpose. When your life is full, your energy shifts. You become less reactive, more grounded, less clingy, more compelling. Being unavailable doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means you've prioritized becoming a man of depth over being someone else's entertainment. It means your days are filled with intention, not just romantic pursuit. So stop clearing your schedule for women who haven't earned that access. Start filling your time with growth, vision, and grit. Show her that being with you is a privilege, not a default setting. Because when she sees that you're not just waiting around, that you're becoming something, building something, living something, she won't just want you, she'll chase you. And the best part, you won't even be trying. You'll be too busy becoming the man she never knew she needed, until she realized she can't stop thinking about you.